This is exactly what we want to see. Democratic Congress members harshly grilling the MAGA Republican Congress members over the terrible budget bill, putting them on the spot, showing the whole world on live TV what pathetic hypocrites they really are. Now, in the Rules Committee in Congress, you get the chance to grill Congress members from the other party who try to defend the bill. Here's where Democratic Congress members like Jim McGovern, who's the top Democrat on the Rules Committee, and Democratic Congress member Joe Neguse from Colorado, started grilling the MAGA Republicans like Jody Arrington, who leads the Rules Committee for the MAGA Republicans. The MAGA Republicans caved like a cheap Donald Trump suit. Let me show you what happened here. Democratic Congress member Jim McGovern is talking to MAGA Republican Congress member Arrington and asks, "Do you agree with Trump that the Congressional Budget Office, which says what a disaster your budget bill is run by Democrats?" And watch as the MAGA Republican Arrington walks right into the trap. Brilliant cross-exam. Let's watch it right here.
Chairman Arrington, do you agree with CBO's analysis that this bill will add $3.3 trillion to the deficit? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. As the current chair of the Budget Committee, do you agree with President Trump that CBO is, quote, run by Democrats?
I think they are mostly Democrats, and most likely they're biased in that regard philosophically.
Right. Well, in fact, the current director of the CBO is a Republican.
Yeah.
And that's according to a recent interview he gave with the Wall Street Journal.
That's true.
And do you know what you said about the current CBO director when he was reappointed to his position 2 years ago?
Probably something good, I hope.
You did. You said he has the two key ingredients to faithfully execute the role as our nation's budget scorekeeper, objectivity and integrity. And then now we hear a whole different version because, Republicans don't like the numbers. And it's not just CBO saying that your bill will cost trillions. It's every budget modeling organization with any credibility.
Then you have Democratic Congress member McGovern naming all the groups, right-wing groups, left-wing groups, center groups, MAGA Republican groups, the Freedom Caucus, everyone who's done studies saying the budget bill is a complete disaster. And McGovern asks Arrington, "So you disagree with every one of these groups? Every single one is wrong and only Donald Trump has all the answers?" Here, play this clip.
And then now we hear a whole different version because, Republicans don't like the numbers. And it's not just CBO saying that your bill will cost trillions. It's every budget modeling organization with any credibility. Do you agree with the Yale Budget Lab that your bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, even when accounting for growth? Yes or no?
I probably disagree with most of what's coming out of Yale University.
Do you agree with the Penn-Wharton budget model that your bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, even when accounting for growth?
I disagree.
Do you agree with the right-leaning tax foundation that your tax cuts will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, even when accounting for growth?
I disagree with every organization you've mentioned because of a growth rate assumption.
And they account for growth. Do you agree with the right-leaning American Enterprise Institute that your bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit, even when accounting for growth?
May I make a clarification?
Yeah.
You're running through a pretty good list, but I'm
almost done with it.
I'll let you finish.
Do you agree with the Tax Policy Center that your tax cuts will add trillions of dollars to the deficit?
No, I don't.
And what about the House Freedom Caucus? That these tax cuts they have a lower estimate, but will add over $1 trillion to the deficit and is way more expensive than the House passed bill.
Here's my position. I don't think Democrats or Republicans have gotten serious about addressing the cumulative deficits into the future.
Yeah, Donald Trump, who claims the bill includes no tax on Social Security, which appears nowhere in the budget bill. Then MAGA Republican Congress member Arrington has to admit it. He says, "Look, if you're trying to argue this bill isn't perfect when it comes to spending discipline and that it's bad, you win." This is what he says to Joe Neguse, Democratic Congress member. You win. That's their move when they're being grilled. They basically go, "We lose. You win. Daddy Trump wants us to do this. We're the MAGA Republicans. That's what we call him. So we'll do what he wants." Here, playing this clip.
So, if you're looking to make the argument this bill isn't perfect when it comes to any principle, including fiscal discipline, you win.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because it's not perfect. And so you win. Honestly. But to say that the old Ronald Reagan 80-20, fill in the blank, in not so perfect processes in a political process, having significant reforms on the fiscal side, like the spending cuts, like the welfare reforms that are long overdue, much needed, like preventing, which 40 some odd Democrats opposed, preventing taxpayer dollars to flow to people who are here illegally.
Now, watch Democratic Congressmember McGovern brilliantly use Arrington's own words against him right here. Play this clip.
In March, you said, and I quote, if the Senate is simply using current policy to get tax cuts permanent while avoiding or skirting the responsibility to bring down spending commensurately, then that is a non-starter. That's end quote.
Yeah.
Then in our April hearing on the budget, when I asked you if you were here supporting a non-starter, you told me I opposed the notion that in the final reconciliation bill that we would have a deficit increase on the watch of a party that claims fiscal responsibility as a core principle. And as recently as June 10th, you signed a letter that said, and I quote, we remain unequivocal in our position that any additional tax cuts must be matched dollar by real enforceable spending reductions. That union is the cornerstone of the House framework adopted in Section 4001 of H. Res. 14, and it's the minimum standard for our support, end quote. So you've been very consistent in your demands, and so I have to ask you: did the Senate follow the House's reconciliation restrictions?
They did not.
All right. I mean, according to the latest analysis from the Committee on Responsible Federal Budget, the Senate violated the House's instructions by over $500 billion, and the final bill will add $4 trillion to the national debt, including interest. So here we are with a final bill that does something that you called a non-starter, that violates your core principles, and it doesn't meet what you called the minimum standard for your support. Have your core principles changed since April? I mean,
no, sir.
I mean, do words minimum and non-starter not mean what I think that they mean? I don't understand, why. I mean, if I were on the right of this, I mean, I don't know why, you wouldn't take this opportunity maybe to follow Lisa Murkowski's advice to, maybe have a conference with the Senate and try to work something out. It seems that everything that everybody
may be onto something.
Yeah. Well, it's it. Well, and again, if that's the case, then I don't know why we're here in the Rules Committee taking up your.
Next up, we have Democratic Congressmember Neguse speaking to MAGA Republican Congressmember Smith about the special exceptions for Lisa Murkowski and others to try to buy their vote. And by the way, Murkowski then votes for this thing. And then Murkowski is like, I hate it though. Please, House, fix what I just did. Seriously, that's what she said. Watch this exchange though. Neguse with Smith. Let's play it.
I think you're missing one.
Which one is that?
Whalers.
What's that?
A new tax break for whalers, right? Whalers. Am I?
Are you talking about allowing someone who uses a harpin to deduct the cost of that harpin?
Correct.
That's included. It's a business expense.
It's a new tax break.
It's a business expense that was capped at $10,000, and now they can deduct it.
Up to $50,000, right?
Yes.
Yes. Why was that added? I think we all know.
You'd have to talk to the senators.
I'd have to talk to the senators.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of convenient, Chairman Smith, that was the one addition that you omitted from that list you provided. But I think I would
probably more that I.
Well, that may be the case.
And then you had MAGA Republican Congresswoman Virginia Foxx try to pull one over on Neguse. And she's like, are you aware that Democrats did this? And Neguse is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What were you talking about? And watch as he outsmarts her as she tried to grill him, and then he grilled her back. Here, play this clip.
Mr. Neguse,
Of course, I'm happy to yield.
would you yield for a question?
Sure.
Are you aware that the Democrats did this when the Senate passed a 4,000-page bill and sent it over to the House, and the Rules Committee met very soon after that?
When was this?
Perhaps. I think, I'm not sure if it was the IRA. I will get you the specific date, but I don't know if you were appalled at the way the House operated then. But I figured you probably weren't aware that the president was set very badly by the Democrats. So thank you for yielding.
Madam Chair, I'm going to yield to the ranking member in a moment. First, I would hope that you might ask your team, to provide us with that example so that we can have a more fulsome colloquy instead of you sort of citing a random example that I'm not aware of. But I also would just say, if I guess that Madam Chair is making the case that
I now have the facts. Consolidated Appropriations Bill in 2023.
So an appropriations bill that was bipartisan that the vast majority of the United States Congress voted on, that's the example you're offering compared to a reconciliation bill that is purely partisan that not a single Democratic member of the United States Senate or the House of Representatives is voting on? That's the corollary to this particular bill? As Ranking Member Boyle, I think, eloquently put it in questioning, or rather in his answers to Representative Scanlon, the precedents that Republicans are setting in this Congress will certainly be leveraged down the road when political winds shift. And we have seen that on full display over the last month and a half. But in any event, the ranking member wished to jump in. I want to deprive him of that opportunity.
I want to withhold my comments because I won't be productive at this moment.
And look.
Next, you have Democratic Congresswoman Scanlon. Here's what she's got to say. Let's play it.
The climate provisions in this big ugly bill are no better. It represents a near total rollback of the historic investments in clean energy and environmental protection that we enacted in the Inflation Reduction Act. These cuts are going to jeopardize 1.75 million good-paying construction jobs and billions of dollars in private sector investment that is growing our economy now with solar, wind, and hydroelectric projects. We're slamming the brakes with this bill on some incredible economic growth and ceding energy dominance to China. Also, our Republican colleagues can placate their fossil fuel donors. This bill is a brazen handout to polluters. It has sweetheart deals for the oil, coal, and gas industries that read like they were written by lobbyists. It mandates lease sales in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, threatening one of the last truly pristine ecosystems on Earth. It opens 4 million acres of public land to coal mining and slashes royalty rates, a direct subsidy to the oil and gas industry. And household energy costs are going to go up as a result of this bill. We've seen 2 studies already showing that costs for energy in my state, in Pennsylvania, in New York, are likely to increase 7 to 8%. In Minnesota, they're likely to increase by 12%, and 16% increase in energy costs for Texas.
Congressmember McGovern's like, why does Bezos need tax cuts when you're taking away Medicaid from people? Watch Smith wriggle and squirm. The MAGA Republican wriggles and squirms. Watch this.
More like Jeff Bezos need a tax cut when all this other stuff is being cut. I think that's not an outrageous question. It's what's on a lot of people's minds. By the way, not just Democrats, but independents and Republicans. That's why that's what the polling tells us, is that people don't quite get it. But if there's a quick answer as to why Jeff Bezos or people who earn what he earns deserve a tax cut, then I'm happy to yield to you.
So I'll just say the reality is this legislation is specifically focused on delivering more jobs, permanent tax cuts, and bigger paychecks for hardworking Americans. That's why the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and the tax relief for seniors.
And Mr. McGovern spent $50 million on a wedding, and he's getting a tax cut. But whatever.
I didn't get invited.
Mr. McGovern, I did find the answer to your question.
Let's play it. Then you have Democratic Congress Member Bowles. Let's play it.
Yes, thank you, Ranking Member McGovern. I have to give Republicans credit for this. They have been able to get left-leaning groups and right-leaning groups both on the same side, saying exactly the same thing, that this bill adds trillions of dollars to our deficit and debt. To be specific, $4 trillion.
Back to McGovern.
And here's what baffles me. You all know the truth. You all know the truth. You know this bill is cruel. You know that it will hurt millions of Americans, but Trump wants you to fold. And the sad fact is that many of you will fold in a nanosecond. You'll vote for this even though you know it's bad for your own constituents. You're absolutely terrified that the guy in the White House will get mad and try to find someone to run against you in a primary. Like one of our Republican colleagues said this weekend on CNN, and I quote, "Everyone in the House knows the peril they're in if they vote no on this thing. They know that their jobs are at risk, end quote. You're terror-stricken that what happened over the weekend to Senator Tom Tillis will happen to you. Well, Senator Tillis did the right thing, speaking truth to power. You should listen to him when he says that the Senate's version of this bill betrays President Trump's promise not to take Medicaid away from its rightful recipients. He decided to retire because he wanted to put his constituents first. And quite frankly, I think he's tired of dealing with the relentless MAGA threats and BS. Truly, I've never seen anything like this in my life. The kind of petrified fealty we're seeing on the right, scared by a man who called voting against this bill the ultimate betrayal. Like, what kind of president talks like that? That's the language of dictators, not the language of a president. But let me remind you all of something. The people you should be afraid of, betraying are not in the White House or dining at Mar-a-Lago. They're back home. The people in Boone, North Carolina, in Moorhead, Minnesota, in Rock Hill, South Carolina, in Austin, Texas, in Salem, Indiana, in Jamestown, New York, in Tifton, Georgia, in Abington, Virginia, in Noonan, Georgia. They're the ones who hired you. And if you vote for this bill, you're voting to screw them over. Plain and simple. When their kids go hungry, when their health care is gone, when their energy bills skyrocket, when they watch big oil rake in profits while they get pink slips, when they realize that billionaires like Jeff Bezos are getting 40 times the tax breaks that they're getting, when they watch the wealthy get richer and they're left behind, they are going to feel the pain that you brought on them. And I think you're going to see that reflected in the next election.
Back to McGovern again, who talks to the MAGA Republican from Kentucky like, you realize 185,000 people are going to lose healthcare in your state, you idiot. Here, play this clip.
With all the other, they're exempted out, people with substance disorder.
Well, according to the Joint Economic Committee, 184,526 people will lose their health care coverage in Kentucky. Are they all deserving to lose their health care benefits?
So I would say if they're able to work and choose not to work, when I say under the restrictions that we have for eligibility, most Kentuckians think, I know there was some criticism that came out from the governor's office of our bill, but if they're defending people that are able to work and they're not working.
That's an awful lot of people in Kentucky. Ranking member.
Well, Kentucky has one of the lowest workforce participation rates, people who are eligible to work that are working, and they'll be better off if they're working.
Yeah, I want to make just one statement before I go to Mr. Colon. This notion that, all these millions and millions of Americans really are living the easy life, staying home, watching TV and being on Medicaid and being on SNAP is ludicrous. A food benefit that's on average $2 per meal for an individual. I mean, it's just like, it's so offensive to people in this country. I don't know whether you talk to your constituents who are on Medicaid, but I'll tell you, their lives are oftentimes very, very complicated. And I think part of why this bill is so unpopular is because people think you're talking about them.
Now, we have Democratic Congresswoman Crockett.
Is that y'all plan to go back and tell your constituents. I'm glad that some of y'all decided to show up, but the reality is that you have sold your constituents out for 83 people in this country. And each of our districts should have approximately 766,000 people. How is it that you can explain that we still are running up the credit card and we have nothing to show for it except for the fact that we won't have food on the tables and we won't have health care? And with that, I will yield.
One more time, here's Congresswoman Crockett. Let's play it.
And I know that Chip Roy sits on this committee, but he's not here right now. But we have 56,000 people that are on SNAP in his district. But in the entire state of Texas, we have 1.6 million people that may lose coverage. And somehow we have 83 billionaires. And somehow they have 535 people that are speaking up for them every single day to make sure that when they get married for a second or third or fourth time, that they can go ahead and have another $50 or $60 million wedding. Instead of protecting access to these programs, you're cutting them to help billionaires who pay less in taxes than some of the teachers in our country. You claim to want a tax system and budget that helps people, but that's impossible when you're subsidizing tax credits off of the folks who can't even afford to treat their kids or family to a nice meal because federal minimum wage hasn't gone up in 15 years.
And by the way, Here, even MAGA Republican Congress member Ralph Norman is like, this is what the MAGA Republicans are saying. They're saying our founding fathers would hate this budget bill. Here, play this clip.
And all I would say is that the founders and the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence would be astounded that we're sitting here talking about something that we hadn't read fully. We hadn't got a copy of it. Now, Mr. McGovern, I do agree with you on that. The fact that we should have it in hand. I think the founders and the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence would be astounded that we're adding debt to our children and grandchildren who are defenseless. Debt is a curse. And Jody, you were right. We got to reverse the curse. And what the Senate did is unconscionable. What they did to our bill was unconscionable. And that's why, I will be, unlike my Democrat colleagues, they will not support anything their new leader in New York, Mandani, government-run stores, government-run gas stations, government-run apartments. I wonder how many U-Haulers are now leaving New York, and the socialist theory just does not work. So I'm against this because of what the Senate did. I'll vote against it here, and I'll vote against it on the floor.
And what are MAGA Republicans doing? Like MAGA Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, she's making pictures of mock-ups of a fake Mount Rushmore with Donald Trump's face on it. I mean, you don't get much more pathetic than these people right here. We'll keep you posted every step of the way, folks. Democrats pushing back. You love to see it. Hit subscribe.